Hi folks, welcome to my Bit Retro Journal. Today I'm going to be looking at tape recovery. These are some of my childhood cassettes, and I've done tape recovery on them before. I recently came into possession of some third-party ones that from an individual, and this actually has Flight Simulator on it, which I don't have. So I tried to recover all these tapes, and I used I ended up using one technique that worked really well. I want to demonstrate that to you. I did get Flight Simulator. It did this over the summer, and it took actually an entire afternoon to do, and it was very tedious, and I wanted to share with you how I did that. But let me just show you that Flight Simulator indeed is partially running, and I can actually get this online, so it's not that big of an issue. Let me go to my desktop. All right, on my desktop, I'm going to open up OTLA Fast Load, one of my favorite fast loaders, and I'm going to, this is my recovered one. And I need to change the audio playback device. Disable that. And now I can just play it. It says it's, yep. And it's running. And here you can see that it's, it's doing the fast load. And it's going to be done in about, I think it's about 16, 17 seconds. I love fast load. It's such a great program. But you can see that it's going to have the Flight Simulator loaded, and if I look at 1, look at 10. So this has a long machine code part, and then the basic is also pretty long. This is where the graphics are, and I'm going to run it, and you'll see that it kind of works, but it's missing something. So let's do final approach. Let's do no wind shear. Oh, no wind effects, and here we are. It crashed on, well, so it didn't quite work fully. I got it to work on the emulator, so I'll show that to you, but here we are. Let's close that just to prove to you that I did get it to work on the emulator. I'm not sure why it wouldn't work on the actual computer, so I'm going to open the same tape file. Again, this was cassette 2, round 1, recovered, and I had it running. Run. Oh, time mixing flavors. I don't know why that would be. Yes. No. Yeah. So here it's running. So I'm not sure why it wouldn't run on my time Sinclair 1000. So it's but again, it's not showing the top. And if you want to see what this is actually supposed to look like, I actually have the. I think I have the real one. Let me see where that is. Yeah. So this is the actual Flight Simulator. Flight simulation. So let's do that one. File, open tape, flight simulation. And it's pretty close. I mean, it gets the graphics right. And then so it does the CRC load check, which the one I recovered doesn't. So I assume that's one of the first errors it has. And then, yes, no. And so it's not giving this top part. So yeah. So it's not quite proper, but again, still wanted to show you how this works. Let's focus first on, I had a tape, cassette 1, and I was able to recover a whole bunch of P files. And let me just show you how this worked. I actually have my settings here that I kept track of, so I might open this up. But so there's various ways to do this. So you can use if you do the wave loader, let me just get rid of this. If you do the wave loader on this, you can, let's do a new. You can open up a file, and if I go to, so this is the file. And if you see, it has highs and lows, and you can actually stretch those out. And you can move it around, and you can then also move this bar, because you kind of want to get these middle pieces sort of in that bar, and you want to have highs and lows. The problem is it doesn't always work when you have really destructive audio, and I'll show you what that looks like. The other tool I use is Audacity, and I have it open here. If I go back to and just load this image here, you'll see that this is the flight simulator, and the problem with this is, and it's in stereo, but you can split the stereo tracks and remove the empty one, and then you can look at the problem is, like if you look at something like this, it starts to deteriorate, and it gets worse in other places. And this is actually not bad, but there are places that if you look at, because I've done it using Audacity, and what you can do when you find a bad spot, like you can see when it gets really narrow, when you find bad spots, what you can do, let me just pick something, I picked this one right here at random. You can actually, if you're like, these are all bad. Oh, you can, for instance, just take a good one, copy it, and then find the bad one, which I can't find one right now where it's deteriorated so much that it does exist, and you just have to sort of take a look at where it has peaks or it has gaps and whatnot. And this one's a strange one. I think in the beginning is where it struggles. Yeah, like if you look here, no, those are good. It certainly doesn't load, and I haven't been able to use that. But let me show you the tool that I did use, and that's Tape Loader. And that's a cool tool. So I'm going to open the same file up first, which is Cassette 2, just to show you what we've been looking at. It's going to take a little while. And you can see that it kind of parsed it as, looks like there's two flights on here. The first one, I couldn't even get the name. If you take a look at, if you do next air, you can kind of see what's going on. Let's do so these aren't bad, but there are places where, as you're stepping through this, you can really see that it struggles and it trails off. These are just misalignments at the moment. So these are simple errors to fix. But I wanted to show you one. Oh, yeah, like right here, it's completely lost. And even though you can fix those, but there are places. So let me show you first one that actually was somewhat successful. Now I'll come back to this. You'll end up seeing the errors. So if I open up, I'm going to open up Cassette 1, back to the desktop. And here, this one, if I open it up, you'll see that without any adjustments, this is going to be completely lost. So it's found a bunch of programs. They're kind of junk, and if you look at the listings, they all look like they're machine code programs. They're actually not. They're all basic programs. But once one of these things is off, and coming from the bottom too, it's sort of lost. And so one of the first things you need to do is under settings, you can set the default threshold, and 20 is what they recommend. There's a web page here where they kind of go into using this, and they actually say, hey, try a setting of 20 for a lot of noise. And so since this has a lot of noise, if you try 20 and apply it, you'll see that magically we now have programs. These are all programs. And this, I think, is a machine code program. I've recovered most of these, and you can see that, yeah, so that does really well. So that took a bunch of junk. And I did try that on OTLA. I mean, I did try that on the emulator, and I wasn't successful either. So this program can quickly find programs for you on this tape. But let's go back to the flight simulator. And for that, just wanted to show you what I had to do for that. So again, if I apply the same technique, you'll see that a noise threshold of it's either 18 or 20, but let's try 20 and see what that gives us. And yeah, so we have two flight simulators, which is kind of what we thought we'd have. If you look at the listing, though, you'll note that yeah, you have the basic starting right there. And then it kind of gets lost here, right? And so if you looked at let me go back to my ZX81. So again, if I go here and say list 10, you can see that it goes and then past 55, you've got a whole lot more statements. And if I list it at 75, yeah, and so you have a whole bunch of stuff that's missing. So let me go back to my desktop. So there's a problem right at this line. After the 5, the next line should be 60. Let's see. And so something happened here. And so the way to fix this, I mean, machine code is kind of impossible to fix, but the way to fix this is you got to find this spot. And that's actually hard to do because you can't just click on this and it'll take you back. That would be such a great feature. What you can do is, so the first thing you must do is you must go and just start at the beginning and find the next error. And then here you go, you start fixing it. And you just kind of do this mundanely. So this is going to be a 1 it missed. You set this to 1 and then you go find the next error. And you go through, do this. So this should also, this looks like it should be a 0. And then this will move over. And find the next error. And again, you're going to keep doing this until you get this sort of to a line. Until you go through the whole thing, right? So this looks like it should have been a 0. And once you've done that, what's going to happen is that the listing is going to start looking a little better. But right now, all you're doing is fixing, yeah, and you can see we actually lost the basic. And the reason we lost the basic is because we fixed some things and other things are still out of kilter. So you have to go through this whole thing. And at one point, once you do this, you're going to get your basic back. And once you get your basic back, what you've got to do then is, yeah, so here's a missing 0. So again, if it's off by a single bit, the problem is it's just not going to be able to understand what's going on. So you have to go through this mundane task of just stepping through all the obvious errors. So this one's a difficult one. You know, is this a 1 or a 0? That's a hard one to pick. This could be a 1. But I think more than likely this is probably a 0 and there's some noise in there, right? And what you might want to do is take a screenshot and remember this position to see if this is going to get you. So I'm going to make this a 0. And then move on to the next error. So that is also a 0, but you can see it misses the, it'll push the 5 to the next one, yeah. And so on. And this is a missing 0, so that was an easy one. And again, you're going to step through this and you'll see that we've only done, yeah, I mean, this is the whole tape. So we might already get pretty close to being done with it. And these are the easy errors, right? The harder ones are once you've done this, and again, I just literally sat there one summer doing that. So here we're completely off, and I think there should be a 0. And then that's, see, sometimes they'll just fall into place, which is really nice. That is going to be a 1, I believe. So we're going to make this a 1. Yeah, that fit in nicely. Again, mark this, maybe take a screenshot and mark this address in case things don't work out. I didn't really have to do this. And so here it starts really getting confused. So that should have been a 1. And then and look, once you bring that in, it brings these all back in. And the listings, at one point, they just become magical, right? You as you do this, again, we haven't seen much of the basic code, so we're still in the machine code. As the machine ones can be perilous. And then here you missed a 0 basically, and so if you move that, hopefully it brings the other one back, and you have to look at your listing. And unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to do this for you. But the thing I wanted to show you is like once you've gone through all these things and you found them all, the hope is that you're going to start seeing the basic listing, because that's what you can attack. You can't really attack the machine code unless you disassemble it. But then what you want to do, and maybe I can, yeah, I don't think this is going to work at this point. If I show, I need to really see some basic. But what you can do, let me go to the next listing here, because this probably shows some basic. Or it does not show any. Oh, wait, yeah. Well, as you saw before, so let me just restart this whole process. File, open, that, and we have those again. Before I lost the basic, I actually had some basic, and if I wanted to attack that first, what I could do is I'd have to find this juncture point, and the way to do this is you kind of have to estimate, well, where are you in the code? And so you know, we're somewhere, and so and since this is, you might want to split this up into a single file, so because this is 2 files, so in the code you might be somewhere here maybe. And what you want to do is you might take a screenshot of this on your Windows or Mac, and then you might go, you find a place where there's lots of zeros right here, and you just decide that, hey, I'm going to change this to a 1. Right? It changed 2 things to a 1, and then you relist this. And what you want to see is you're trying to find this juncture point. And once you do find this, so right now, whatever change I made, it didn't actually impact this because I made it somewhere before or after, likely after, right? And so what I want to do now is I want to fix this again. So I'm just going to make this a 0 again. And it'll bring the other 0 right back, and I can just make this a 0 just to be 100% sure that I kind of want it to be. Yeah, there you go. So it's back to normal, and then move on to either before or after, and try to find. Usually, I try to find something like this, to where I can easily see what I've done. Change that to a 1, and then go back to my listing and try to figure out when I actually destroy, you know, I want to remove this line 55 or get this to be junky, because then I know exactly where the problem is. And then you start, once you find that, and it takes a little while, then you'll see that you make that fix and all this stuff turns into basic, and it just keeps turning into basic and so forth. And that's exactly what I did. It took me an entire afternoon. It's very labor intensive. And if it's machine code, the problem is it's really hard to fix this part. I mean, my assumption is, since sometimes these errors are obvious in Tape Converter, if you step through it frame by frame, you can probably figure out which ones the bad ones are. And this is the part I haven't done yet. And then even fix the machine code part. So I think this is a great tool to use to recover. Unfortunately, at the moment, I can't demonstrate this the way I want to in order to hopefully I can get these back. The undo bit, by the way, doesn't work, so let me just demonstrate that. So it has some bugs in it. Like if I go and change this to a 1, and then I do an undo bit set, it just looks like garbage. I mean, maybe this is proper. I don't know, but this makes me very uncomfortable, so I usually don't do that. But again, the point here is you're trying to figure out where this part right here is, and there's no way that I figured out yet how to sort of align that. But that is what I did in order to get back basically all of the basic, and I can show that to you. If I go into and take this, I'm going to copy this over here, and I'll go under my favorite tools, and and grab P to text. I'll throw this on the desktop as well for now, and then I need my command shell, and I'm just going to say so P to text, and this is my flight simulator flight.base, and that'll just generate my basic. And if I open this up, so this has let's do no word wrap. So this has all the basic, and I was able to gain back all this basic code, and it went in chunks, and ended up just finding that place in the code that was 55, and so I kind of tried to ignore the machine code initially, found that, and I went through all the errors, and that eventually gave me a listing that was maybe this long. And then I kept finding this spot by just trial and error. And then you saw, once you were at that spot, you're like, oh yeah, they missed this part, even though the error scanner couldn't find it. And then you just fix that, and it literally, I was able to expand this out to this. And remember, currently, at one point, it was literally in this state right here. Can I make this bigger? No. But it was in this state where all this basic was really this chunk. But that stuff comes like really quickly once you fix, you know, there's something that's off here, and so it's missing line 60. It's reading it as this 120L list. So it's like a puzzle, and an entire summer afternoon I was able to use this tool. And if you look at, I think I had, did I take a, here I didn't take a picture of my settings, but if you look at the first one, this guy, you can see that the settings were, I did 25 threshold, and that seemed to give me the best. Gave me all these programs, which was pretty cool. And I even converted one to basic, so my ZX simulator can read it. So for some cassettes, that works actually pretty well. I don't know if I tried to load this audio file into EightyOne emulator, but since I had such success on that, it didn't really matter, and I could just get immediately the P5. So I think there's one machine code program that didn't quite work, and I think I was still struggling with some other settings on. So this didn't do well. So various rounds, but I kind of kept track of it. But I was successful on this cassette. But on this one, the flight simulator, again, I got it to where all the basic kind of worked, but the machine code. And again, the way you would step through this then is you would just literally just go and say, boom. You find the starting part. Maybe you maximize it to the whole screen, and then you just, one summer afternoon, that's your start. You just go boom, and you just start looking for places where it looks odd. And I bet if I did that, I could find it, and I could make this whole thing work. Obviously, the flight simulator is kind of interesting because I found it. I did this partly because I was wondering if it was the same version, and I think it was. But since I couldn't get that on internet, it was kind of pointless to do this. But I did nonetheless spend an afternoon because I really wanted to learn how to use this tool. And if you just did this throughout the whole program, and maybe you'll just do it for an hour a day or half an hour a day, and you just keep track of where you are. This gives you the start, and you just keep finding the errors and fixing them. The two pet peeves here is that like I said, it doesn't tie the basic back into this, and it doesn't let you save the states. You kind of have to keep it open. So if your computer crashes, you're kind of screwed. So you might want to do this. I haven't figured out a way yet to save. You can save. Oh, you can save the WAV file. So I haven't checked to see if you save it and you make a change. Let's wrap up on that. I'm going to make a change at the very beginning. So I'm going to change the first one to a 1. All right, and I'm going to save this WAV file. Save as desktop. I'm going to call it test. And so the question is, if I open the WAV file as test, will it keep, what will it look like? It's still loading. Will it load it in as, with this change? Because that would be nice. Did it actually change this WAV file, or will it, so let me do it. I think it actually did. Let's go back to here. It looks like it saved it. Oh no, I think it's crashed. All right, let's do this. Tape loader. It's a Java program, so where are you? And I'm going to open up the test program. File, open, desktop test, and let's see if it. Let's see what it does. I made that one change, and if it hangs, I guess, don't know. But I'm going to wrap up here. I'll put in the comment if it actually loaded or not, because I don't want to sit here and wait for the next hour. It seems to be hung at the moment, so I don't know if you can save it. I mean, don't know if I corrupted this by doing that. But it's a great program. It's called Tape Converter. You can find it, I think it's hung. You can find it online at www.zx81stuff.org.uk and ZX81 Tape Utils Overview. And this is the Tape Utility Converter program. All right, that's really all I wanted to show you today. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time.